What's going on, Buffs Nation?
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm hitting that portal like never before. I already hit it.
Transfer portal season is in, and the Buffs are active. Coach Prime told you he's going to be in that portal. He's already been in there. And so you're starting to see a lot of players actually set up some meetings for the weekend. So you know this weekend's going to be huge. You got the Heisman Trophy, and then you got players pulling up in order to see if Colorado's the place for them to transfer. So we're going to dive into a few players that most recently said they're going to pull up. I'm going to tell you what I think about them here on the Prime Time for College Football. Thank y'all for joining as usual. So let's talk about the first set of players. We all know that the duo of Alabama guys are expected to be in this weekend, and a crystal ball just came down for one of those players from Steve Wiltfong over there at On3. The prediction is big for the guy we talked about in the last video that I told you that the Buffs probably would win, but everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. Jaheim Oatis, the big defensive tackle. It appears that he is in line to be a Buff. 6'5", 390, big boy from Alabama, from Mississippi, from Columbia, Mississippi. And he was a top 100 player in the country in his class back in 2022. He's part of 22 class, and he finished up number 77 on threes rankings on 247. They had him at, he was number 71. So he's a top 80 player in the country, as a big boy. And so he's going to be in town, and actually everybody thinks that he's going to immediately sign with the Buffs. So if you've been wanting some additional interior action, Jaheim Oatis is going to give you that. Then, of course, you've got Caleb Odom, who's going to be in town. We talked about him before. He's a former teammate of Julian Lewis, the five-star quarterback that committed, 6'5", 227. He was a tight end coming in, but Alabama transitioned him into a wide receiver just because of his size and his ability. So he'll be in town, and honestly, I think that one's probably a lock. I think Juju's going to lock him in and say, hey, come play with your boy. Let's go from there. Now, from there, you're going to start looking at some transition pieces here. So, first and foremost, at quarterback, you've got Caden Salter. We talked about him a little bit. And Caden, the 6'1", 200-pounder, he's thrown for nearly 6,000 yards and rushed for over 2,000 yards, 77 total touchdowns with 17 interceptions in his career at Liberty. He's going to Syracuse first, and then he's going to be in Colorado as well as Florida State before everything's in. So probably early next week, Colorado time, and then boom, he'll finalize everything he's going to do at Florida State. And so if the Buffs are looking for someone to be like a little bit of a buffer, because we've seen some players hit the transfer portal for Colorado that, you've got a couple of quarterbacks that have already hit the portal, and Destin Wade, as well as who was it, Walter Taylor, were the two that jumped in the portal already. So you've got some guys that have already jumped in the portal. And from there, your goal is you want to have a good buffer in between Juju and Sheduer, because Sheduer walked in with a lot of experience. Julian's going to be extremely raw, but he may win the job in spring camp. So we'll see what that looks like. But outside of that, you got some bigger players. Tight end Luke McGarry from University of Tulsa, 6'3", 240. And 26 catches for 346 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he may be somebody to really, really keep an eye on. And honestly, there's a couple of others that really jumped out to me. First off, you got safety Tafik Bird from USF. Now, Bird, 6'1", 197. He racked up 44 tackles, 2 sacks, a tackle for a loss as a redshirt freshman. So he's a young safety, and I think him coming in will be a good piece for, we know Shiloh being gone. And we've got there's a lot of young, good safeties here in Colorado, so don't get that twisted. But adding additional depth is always one thing you want to look at. And then especially at the offensive line, adding some experience depth right behind Cash Cleveland. You've got Joshua Bates, who is a former offensive lineman from Oklahoma. And he played in a few games. He started a few this past season. I've actually got to watch a lot of him being in Oklahoma. And he was dealing with some injuries and was a solid backup. I think he'll be a really good backup at the P4 level, but he's got enough of a nasty streak that he could work his way up in the Big 12 into a starting role. And so as Cash has continued to develop, which I think Cash has most likely got that job completely sewn up, I think Bates is a good backup for him, because the best part is Bates is from Durango, Colorado. So he's from the Colorado area. Definitely somebody worth, looking at, right? Local kid. I'm always big about local talent. So he's a former 4-star in his recruiting days, and he was a top 400 player. So Bates is one that's definitely worth giving a look. Of course, Kevin Concepcion is expected to try to pull up in a month. The good thing is the Buffs have a lot of people coming through the weekend of the 19th through the 21st. So that entire weekend appears to be an extremely busy one with a lot of dudes coming in to town. I'm going to get together a full list of all the names that are expected to be there. One of those big names is Jordan Lewis from Liberty. We talked about him in the last video. So there's a lot of big talent looking to pull up. But honestly, I think the biggest one here that Jaheim Otis, that future cast that is, or prediction that they do on 3, and then Crystal Ball that came through on 247. That's huge to me, to be able to get a talent like him from Alabama here into Colorado to get in the middle. I mean, hey, working with Coach Warren Sapp, I mean, who wouldn't want to? That's an opportunity to be successful. And then the Buffs got a commitment from a kicker. Now, you heard Prime talk about this in the presser about touchbacks and said that he's going to get one of them. Well, he's got one. Elliot Arnold is a kicker, 5-star on the Coles list. They don't do it similar. Coles kickers and punters are different than you see on the other recruiting sites, but he's considered a 5-star over there, and he has committed to the Buffs. He committed yesterday. So last night, you got yourself a nice kicker, a young one, and Elliot got a boot on him. Watched a couple videos on him. I'm like, okay, 2025, so nice young kicker coming in. You can't beat that. That's what you need. And like Prime said, I mean, sometimes you got to kick field goals. Sometimes you want those touchbacks, and getting a player like Elliot Arnold is going to be huge for what the Buffs are putting together. So right now, the portal looks is looking good for the Buffs today. And so let me know what y'all think. Hop in the comments. Colorado is being linked to a lot of really good players over the last 24, 48 hours. So the expectation is that once they get the evaluations in, and then we'll be able to see who actually gets a chance to pull up and be a Buff. So got some other content coming down the line. I've been chopping it up with some other creators. Got a couple creators that's going to be coming through. We'll talk about the Buffs. We'll talk about the Heisman. We'll talk about prepping for the Alamo Bowl against BYU. I think I'm going to get my guy over there from Big 12 Mafia to come holler at us and talk about that. But keep your eyes open. We'll talk about the portal as more players jump in and players that are linked to Colorado to visit. We'll talk more in depth about them and everything. But yeah, make sure you hit the like, subscribe button. Check out the last video where we talked about all those Bama kids pulling up, and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the content. Chop it up soon.